Hello and welcome to my presentation on my research paper, which was on the geography of the term woods fire as a replacement for wildfire. This presentation will cover an overview of the topic of research, methods used to obtain the data, information learned by analyzing the data collected, and where the topic and its conclusions fit within the academic structure of the geography field of study. This research project's goal was to discover the geographical use of the term woods fire as it replaces the term wildfire, and covering the patterns and historical significance that is associated with the use of the term. Furthermore, it looks to discover whether common perception would place the origin for the term in the Deep South, states like Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, Georgia, or another region of the United States, say the New England or the Midwest or the West Coast. The project also provided an opportunity to conduct a survey and take the data and build a hypothesis that the data from the research would either support or differ from. The primary source for gathering the information for the project was the Library of Congress's Chronicling America's Archives. Great source to look back in history all the way back to the 1700s and get a snapshot into the eras and the phrasing, the terminologies of each of these years all the way up into the 1960s. Another way that we were able to gather some information for the project was to put a poll on various social media sites, engage the public on the perception of the term woods fire, and whether that perception of where its origin lies in the evidence that we discovered later that solidifies the correct origin. This is a good way to see how those two correlate with each other. After scouring through the articles and filtering out wildfires, wood fires, etc., it was also important to remove instances where the term was used out of context, out of order, like the woods were on fire or there was a fire in the woods, as the database takes all the words in the search bar and looks for all of the terms, whether they're in the order you typed it in or not. So it was important to read carefully through and understand the context of how the words were being used. Then these cities and dates were placed on a map, and the locations that were constantly reoccurring were labeled hotspots, and these spots were placed on the map as a single point to make it easier for viewing and analysis of the data. After the poll, which was left up for a couple of days, the results indicated that the perception was that the term woods fire was a product of the Deep South, as it received 92% of the total vote. There were over 70 votees, so 92%, the Mid-Atlantic got 4%, the Midwest with 2%, the Northeast with 2%, while the Mountain West and West Coast got 0%. And this created the hypothesis for the research that the term woods fire would historically see the majority use in the heart of the American South, the Deep South. And when the poll was published and put out, each of these regions had example states. So if people weren't sure what these regions were, they could identify the states that they were a part of, and that would help them base their vote on something tangible rather than saying Mid-Atlantic and they're assuming that that could possibly be Massachusetts, not knowing the borders that are defined within the research. So after scouring through all the articles, the hypothesis failed to agree with the analysis, um, as the term's usage was actually skewed to the East Coast. The hypothetical origin was the Deep South, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. But the concentration of the points and the vast majority of the hotspots were in Maryland, North Carolina, and Florida, being the highest percentage of points. Nevertheless, the South did have a high number of points. So it came in second place in total amount. If you included, we took apart multiple regions, and if you put together the Southwest, Southeast, Cumberland, and the Deep South, you get 40% of the, or 55% of the total amount. But it's still skewed to the east. The Southwest only had 1 point, so it's very still skewed to the east. But the amount of hotspots were vastly superior when looking at the amount of usage. So because of this, Maryland had the vast amount, with Washington, D.C. Being the most reoccurring location. This could be the result of it being the national capital, it having the national media, all the national news from local outlets being sent to be republished, retold to the broader national media for assistance or to get the news out there, is most likely the reasoning as to why the term is used the most in Washington, D.C. The importance of this research and research like it stems down to the multiple fields of study, including geographical, demographically, anthropological, and linguistics, that play a part in a study like this, and it just shines a light on the fact that geography is a great central point for academia to interconnect and amalgamate different fields of study, bringing together multiple professions, multiple disciplines, viewpoints on the world together to look at an overarching problem or to find an overarching solution that, without geography being there to facilitate it, wouldn't happen. And this project also highlights the stereotypical influence that has a fascinating effect on the viewpoints of locations. Like, people build up assumptions of places in their mind from what they've heard in the media or what they might have seen an image of at one point, but that does not have any factuality when it comes to tangible things. Being there and experiencing it is always more beneficial than taking an external force's word at it. In conclusion, geography research is important to understand trends and other environmental factors that affect everyday experiences for all life. And that wraps up my presentation. Thank you.